Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inner Podcast, where you get to embrace your inner nerd. I'm your host, Aaron. Yep, it's just me. I have taken it upon myself to do a episode on my own. We did not get to record one when we normally do, but that is mainly because I was sick and Brandon was on a pretty tight schedule, and he was just doing very adult things and, doing this and doing that. And he's currently on a trip as we speak. He is in Monterey at the moment. So I am feeling better, and I am also just feeling like, you know what, if there was any shot in the world that I could get an episode recorded and posted by Thursday, instead of just skipping this week like we were going to, why not? Why not? With that being said, if this is posted, well then, holy shit, it's posted. Yep, I'm doing this on my own today. So there is a plethora of things that I actually wanted to talk about today. Some of them I decided I would just wait until Brandon and I ended up recording an episode on our own, or not on our own, but as we typically do. But I don't know, there was just some things I was like, I could ramble. Why not ramble? So with that being said, I do want to start off with something. I'm just going to get into it. I've got no one to banter with. I'm all alone by my lonely lonesome. If you can hear background noise, I don't care. I do apologize. I'm recording in my typical setup, and there's just background noise, and that's just what it is. So, with that being said, what I wanted to start off with today was actually the Oscars. Raise of hands of anyone who had watched the Oscars. I can't actually see you. If you just put up your hand, you look like an idiot. I'm sorry. But if you watched the Oscars, it was quite the event. They put on quite the show this year. Conan did such an interesting job hosting. And yes, Adrian Brody actually did break the record of the longest Oscar speech, which was interesting to say the least. And Brandon was cringing so hard when he tried to, when Adrian successfully cut off the cue music, and he just kept talking, and I had to watch. It was so good. Adrian Brody is like notorious for kind of going on a little bit on his little rambles, which I'm totally fine with. He loves what he does. He loves the craft. And he's very passionate about his work, which is great to see in an actor these days. But sometimes he sure knows how to pick his moments. And speaking of the Oscars, hell, we got some great wins, great well-deserved wins. Hell, the team for Anora won 5 Oscars this time? Around 4? I think 4. Whatever, I'm not pulling it up. But yeah, it was crazy. Very well done. It was well deserved. It was a great movie. But I do have to admit, I was a little disappointed. I always think it's great when the Oscars acknowledges people that we've lost in the industry throughout that, the year in question. And there was unfortunately way too many on that list this year. One of them, being Gene Hackman, that kind of led the whole thing because of a very heartfelt introduction from Morgan Freeman. But they did miss Michelle Trachtenberg, to be specific. I never really know how to pronounce her last name. I was kind of sitting there and I noticed they got to Gene Hackman, and then that was it. They hit almost everyone there was to point out, and for some reason, Sure, maybe she wasn't as big as a name as some of the, oh my lord, as some of the other people that were on that list, but I don't think that's any excuse to not acknowledge like a talented heart that we lost in this, this year. So I don't know. I think I'm just a little disappointed that that was something that a lot of people noticed, actually. I mean, hell, as soon as I opened up my phone right after that portion of the Oscars, I had already seen people post multiple things about it. But anyways, with that being said, I think it was a great show. I don't know if it happened to anyone else, but it cut off for me. I was watching it, streaming it on Hulu, and right after Adrian Brody's speech, it just cut off. That was it. It just said that the stream was over, but that clearly wasn't the case because right as it cut off, they did Best Picture, and I missed that. If anyone's listening to this and that happened to them, please let me know in the comments because I was like hoping that when I opened up social media that someone would have pointed that out, but I haven't seen that yet. Maybe I just got like a streaming issue on my end. Speaking of disappointing things, I know this seems more what I'm about to get into seems more like a celebrity drama and stuff, which it kind of is, but just at least keep up with me for the time being. It's just something that I came across and I thought it was rather noteworthy, especially in this generation of the internet and how public figures compose themselves when reacting to particular things on the internet. But Millie Bobby Brown, apparently a lot of people have been lashing out on her, including, so-called professional pop culture media, journalists and stuff like that, saying that she's, dressing like an older woman or treating herself like an older woman or so on and so forth. And people that were telling her that she didn't look good or that she was aging poorly, blah, 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 which is absurd that, journalists, so-called professional journalists would go out of their way to say something like that about a girl of her age. It doesn't matter if she's, a celebrity or not. But she handled it rather well. I mean, she did make a video that, is not hard to come by, but she made a video essentially responding to those comments and those remarks. And she, instead of just lashing out or being a drama queen as most social media people are or public figures tend to do in those kind of situations, she just, she acknowledged those statements and she expressed disappointment, and she just said that it was shameful that, these so-called professionals are saying things like that and they're just butthurt and, don't want to come to terms with the fact that she's becoming an adult and she's not the same kid that she was in the first season of Stranger Things. So yeah, I mean, good on her because she's right. These are people who are sitting behind computer screens typing away and making, trying to make headlines or whatever, but out of what? Like, she can't be young forever. I can't be young forever, and they can't be young forever. It's like, what are you on about right now? People grow up, they hit puberty, they become of a legal age, and they become an adult. It's just the sequence of, it's how this shit goes. Grow up. I don't know. I think I'm putting it in a more, in a less mature manner than even Millie did. So if you have the chance, go watch that video. I was surprised of how well she handled that. And YouTubers, I'm talking to you. You guys need to go watch that video and learn how to compose yourselves when responding to negative comments on social media. I am looking at you, Logan Paul. I came across that the other night and I was just shocked, dumbfounded, bewildered. That's not right. I thought that was interesting. If you thought it was interesting, cool. If you didn't, well, don't worry about it. I'm moving on. So there's been a lot of talks about what's going on with our content, and I'm more specifically Brandon and mine's content. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode, and I do apologize for anyone who thought it was a little bit down in our last episode, but we've kind of had that conversation before, like right when we started YouTube. It was more of a fun conversation, and it was kind of in that time that we had mentioned in the last episode where we kind of had this parasocial idea of being a YouTuber of sorts. So like we each had posted like a video or two and thought we were like all that, you know. I thought it was just important that maybe like, you know, with small amount of content compared to other creators, but for what we have put into our channel so far, it might not seem like it, but it's been a great deal of work to be able to manage personal life and YouTube and now the podcast and our own hobbies and so on and so forth. And we're probably going to end up having that conversation, you know, maybe another year or two from now, and compare and contrast. And we'd like to, I don't know, maybe just acknowledge where it is that things are going and how they've been and where it started. But yeah, but what I was trying to get to is Brandon has been, he's been, the content has been coming around quite frequently, and it's doing, for as small as a channel as he is, I'd like to acknowledge that he's doing pretty good. And consistency wise, like he was off the rocker for some time, like he was only posting every so often, and his consistency's gotten back a little bit. It's come with some challenge, but he's doing a pretty good job. He just posted a Temu item video thing that was received rather well. Actually, let me pull that up right now. I mean, hell, it's almost at 300 views. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for his channel, like the last time that he got, you know, like a remotely significant number was the Spider-Man novel video that he did more than a year ago now, which was in the thousands, but it was only because it was relevant at the time. And you know, he's now playing Metal Gear Solid, and that one's at 1,111 views as I'm looking at it right now, which it's just, I'm glad that, you know, he's seeming to enjoy the content that he's putting out and what he's putting into. And I just hope that the ideas that he has, not only he's able to do, but he's talking about doing different content. He wants to do more hobby related content, more specifically art related, because he's, you know, like we talked about in our last episode, he's been drawing his whole life. So why not do that? Why not monetize it a little bit, you know? It's more than I can say. I mean, I'm working on one video, and it's just a slow grind because it consists of me buying a lot of things, and I have to make sure I have the money to buy each thing. It's a PC build. I'm doing a PC video. And no, it's not because PewDiePie did it. I actually started mine before his. See, the thing is not only does PewDiePie have all of the money in the freaking world to spend, I love you, PewDiePie, but he also lives in Japan, where there's not, as it doesn't seem like there's the same kind of shortages that are going on over here. Because not only do I have to wait each and every paycheck to buy one specific component each paycheck, But every time I look at the market, there's just the specific GPU that I'm looking for is nowhere to be found, and it's freaking frustrating. Anyways, I don't know why I'm talking about that. Another video that I'm working on that will probably come much later, for another specific type of nerd that's out there. This is kind of a big one. I've gotten into miniature painting. Yeah, that's right. The little army men, the space marines, the chaos warriors, all that stuff. Yeah, that's right. They're, only a couple inches tall, but I spend 8 freaking hours painting one of them. And I freaking love it. It's amazing. I don't know why I didn't start sooner. Yeah, I mean, and I'm also being a narrative buff. You pick up one Space Marine and you're like, I have to know more. And now I feel I could not express the amount of Warhammer lore that I've listened, like whether it's podcasts, whether it's just video essays, lore deep dives, anything. I have listened and watched so much content in such a short amount of time. I feel like my brain has the digits 40, burned into it by now. And I don't know what to do with all this information. It's useless information. It's, why do I do this to myself? Why? Also, I mean, I have the opinion. There's so much I could say. I could piss off so many 40K fans right now. The opinions I have. Don't get me wrong. I'm still gonna paint the miniatures. I'm still gonna play the game, play the video game and the tabletop game. I plan on buying some of the magazines, like everything. I'm all in, but there's just some crazy shit written in the 40K lore. Not gonna lie, I think I prefer Age of Sigmar. There's just some models in Age of Sigmar that are cool. I think the 40K fans, plug your ears. I think Stormcast Eternals are cooler. Come at me. Bring it. Yeah, the lore of 40K, it's just I'd say the meanest thing that I could say. And again, I think even diehard 40K fans would agree with me on this. The lore of 40K, there's so much written in there, and like 2% of it makes sense, literally. The other 98% feels like a 12-year-old boy who, the kid in middle school who wears like the wolf print t-shirts. That's who wrote Warhammer. I'm serious. The shit that is in 40K, sometimes you're like, whoa, that's badass. And sometimes you're like, what? Who wrote that? Like, sometimes there could be a specific detail that's like both of them. It's so badass, but at the same time, it's like, why? Why would you do that? I mean, I was trying to think of an example, and the only thing that keeps coming to mind, but it's not even really an example. It actually has something to do with something different in regards to my opinions about 40K. That of which being in Warhammer 40K, I think they just go too far and like too heavy with some stuff, or the cool metal badassery of a particular thing. That dial is just, it's broken at that point. Like, you can't turn it any further. Is like the Space Marines themselves. Brandon and I have these nerdy conversations about like what kind of superpowers we would have, or which Marvel or DC character we would like pick powers from, so on and so forth. And we love Superman. he's obviously one of our top favorites. But the thing is about Superman, if you were like, oh, I would want the powers of Superman, Superman is like God. There's sometimes they dumb him down a little bit, but just based on what we've seen in comic books, Superman is like God. If you had Superman in I think I understand the Man of Steel. Anyways, but Superman, the thing is that, like, unless you have magic or kryptonite, you can't stop him. As long as that sun goes, he's invincible. Cue the invincible title card. But he's, there's no stopping Superman. That's just it. And Space Marines on paper are, even though hundreds and thousands of Space Marines are killed by like Tyranids, Necrons, orcs, what have you, or even like heretic legions of Space Marines. But like on paper, a Space Marine should be unstoppable. You look at the Space Marines that are like in the Astartes fan animation or the secret level episode of Space Marines, and you're like, how? Why do they have thousands of these guys if they can just plow through anything? And it's like, but what's interesting? It gets to a point towards it's not fun anymore. Like, they're too strong. They're so freaking numbskulled, and all they think about is fighting and blah, 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 blah. And you know what? That's why Halo is better. I'm a ride or die Halo fanatic, and it's not even biased at this point. I walked into a Warhammer store here in Sacramento, and I whispered Spartans are better, and I felt like I killed a person. The way he looked at me, like he went from normal skin tone to paper white. He was so upset. But Spartans are just interesting. They act like human. They are human. They're obviously more vulnerable, but it makes it more interesting. You have a Space Marine that can do anything, plow through anything. He has armor that can protect him from almost anything. It's like, what's fun about that? And then Halo has Master Chief. Didn't mean to ramble about 40K, but it's like you spend so much time thinking, reading, watching, listening to one thing, and it takes over your life. I get why professional painters or like 40K fanatics, they don't do anything else. Their life is Warhammer. It's because there's endless content of Warhammer, and you could spend not even a week. You could spend a whole year just doing Warhammer stuff from the time you wake up, from the time you go to bed, whether it's painting, reading, watching, listening, playing. They're like anything Warhammer related. Like, think of any art medium you can think of. Warhammer's got it. Music, done. Games, done. Video games, done. Board games, of course. Card games. Warhammer has literally everything. It's everywhere. You might not know it. You might not think you know it, but I dare you. Type in Warhammer store right now in your Google search. I guarantee you, 5 minutes from where you live, there's a Warhammer store you've never seen in your life. That exact same thing happened to me. I had D&D miniatures because I play D&D, but I was just curious. I saw a video on YouTube of a guy visiting the Warhammer store that just opened up in Tokyo. Well, not just. It's been there for a little bit now, and I was like, I wonder, like, what's the closest Warhammer store? I thought it was going to be like Micro Center, where there's only like a select few and you have to like take a road trip to make your way to one. Because the closest Micro Center to me is in Santa Clara. I'm in Sacramento. But no, Warhammer. There's a Warhammer store. Not like a hobby store that sells Warhammer. I'm saying a Warhammer labeled, branded, financed store. 10 minutes from where I live. Crazy. It's nuts how infested the human populace is with Warhammer, and they don't even know it. I wouldn't be, as soon as Henry Cavill comes out with that Amazon series, the world will know Warhammer, and it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. I don't know where that came from. I think I've been spending too much time with these things. Honestly, the reason why, like, as I said before, I'm a narrative nut. So like anytime I get into something, I don't want to like half-ass it. Like if I'm going to join in on the Warhammer community or try to join in, I want to know as much as possible. I don't want to be like that one fake guy. I want to be able to, you ask me who the Grey Knights are, I want to be able to tell you. You ask me who the Lamenters are, and I'll be like, Lamenters, there's barely any left, dude. Or the Tiger Claws. It's like, dude, the Tiger Claws aren't even like a thing anymore. What are you on about? Aside from the narrative or lore related stuff, I'm putting an army together. It's dangerous. It's expensive. It's probably not good for my mental or physical health. But I'm going to be originally I was going to be putting a Chaos Slaves to Darkness army for Age of Sigmar together. But I was at Game Castle here in Sacramento. Go to Game Castle. You like hobby stuff, board games, card games, reading, Dungeons, Dragons, they got you covered. Hobby store, go to Game Castle. On Garfield, in Madison, in Sacramento. Anyways, non-sponsored. They had this killer. All Warhammer stuff is expensive, but there was just like one that was too good to be true. It was almost like they labeled the price wrong. But I got a troop, and I'm gonna be making a home-brewed chapter army. Yep, I'm not building like another army or a small army or a kill team. I'm going a full army. It's gonna be a home-brewed chapter. And I'm doing all of this writing and lore related stuff to make sure that, like, even though they're made up, they still fit in the world of Warhammer and they make sense, and they'll look and act like they can be alongside another chapter. There's like a whole thing. I've got a whole thing going on, and you don't even know. These things are going to be freaking fire. And yes, I will be making a video about that on my channel. But yeah, it's just, it really takes up your livelihood. I've been Brandon, finally got Brandon to paint another miniature. He's painted 2 now. The first time he did not enjoy it very much, but one, we had less resources, and he kind of, I'm not gonna lie, Brandon, I'm gonna dox you a little bit, but he definitely rushed it. Second time around, he took his time. I have everything. Anything you need, painting related, I got it. Not everything, but I have more than a beginner should have. Yeah, he took advantage of that. We spent a whole day painting miniatures, and it was awesome. And he loved it. He did a little Chaos Warrior, like a little green one. It's pretty cool. It's a blast. I'm trying to find more people to paint miniatures with. I guess I could just go back to the Warhammer store and apologize to that kid. Tell him that Spartan, I'm sorry, Space Marines are better. I was wrong. All hail the Emperor. Not really. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could just go over there and be like, hey, who wants to paint miniatures? I could even paint miniatures there if I wanted to, but it's not as big as the Tokyo store, so it's pretty crowded. But yeah, I just need people to paint miniatures with. It's boring doing it by yourself. I like doing things by myself. I like my space, but there's just some hobbies that are not fun by yourself. Miniature painting is one of them. I know there's people who, live and breathe doing miniature painting by themselves, but like when I'm doing it by myself, I'm constantly just wanting to show people what I'm doing. So why not just have someone else sitting there painting alongside you, Anyway, so what did we talk about? We talked about Oscars. We talked about Millie Bobby Brown. We talked about Space Marines. Oh yeah, another thing. There's a game Brandon and I brought up a couple times. The Blood of the Dawn Walker. It's that new game coming out in the near future. I can't think of what you know what? If you hear me clacking away on this keyboard, it's because I'm looking shit up. Blood of the Dawn Walker. Yeah, who's making this shit? Bandai Namco's. Okay, Rebel Wolves. So, I was like watching a bunch of stuff on that new team, Rebel Wolves, and I was like, trying to learn about them because they're making a game that I'm actually like really excited about. I've been playing video games my whole life, and in these last couple of years, I've just lost my drive for video games, and I think it's mainly just because of the content that's out there. Not only is there so much to choose from, but what there is to choose from is rather too expensive. It's not practical, or it's just not what I want to put my time into. And I saw this game, and I'm hearing about like what these guys are putting together, and it makes me hopeful, and it makes me excited about a game again. But another thing that's like super disappointing is then you look on the other side of the spectrum of like why he's had to make this studio in the first place, and it's because he wasn't allowed to make the games that he wanted to anymore. Business people and suits and executives get their fingers into the gaming industry and they ruin it. The developers can't make the games that they want anymore, let alone the way that they want to make anymore. And like, that was the whole Suicide Squad thing, and that was the whole, there's countless games that like fall to this stupid crap. And then on top of that, like all of the studios that are just letting people go, like their lives don't matter. The team behind oh my God, Marvel Rivals, they just dropped tons of people. Warner Brothers just canceled tons of games. They canceled that ongoing Wonder Woman game that was in development. They canceled gosh, I was just listening to something about this, but they drop these studios, they drop these games, they drop these people like they don't matter, and it's annoying. It's not like I'm in the gaming industry, but like as a customer, like it shows the market and what comes out of the industry shows when there's no passion anymore, and when these people are struggling for their lives to even do what they want to do. They don't get to make games that they want to make anymore, and they're punished for it when it's not up to them in the first place. And it's sad, and it's unfortunate that the video game industry's come to what it is. So it's exciting to see developers like Rebel Wolves, which hopefully like the game comes up to the standard that they're pitching, and even after this game they're able to move forward and make games that they want to make, because we're falling to a very select few development studios that are still making their way through this industry. Naughty Dog, they announced Intergalactic game, which a lot of Naughty Dog fans are super excited about, and then there's other people who are talking about like the girl being bald. Like, who gives a flying fuck? Sorry, but it's like, let them make the game. You haven't even seen gameplay on it yet, and you're bitching already. It's like, just shut up. These guys are the only people making the game that they want to make, and and you're taking that for granted. It's just, if anyone who listens or watches Sad Boys, they just, even though it was more to a comedic effect, they were going through this guy who posted a video about like the masculinity being taken away from video games. It's like, yeah, because you're a moron who only likes a specific type of game, and they just don't make that many games anymore for them, for the console. It's like, if you want games like that so bad, just hop on Steam and, spend your life doing that. We couldn't give a flying fuck. I know I'm not really bringing much to the conversation, and I'm just rambling on at this point, but it's like, what's happening? What's happening? Social media is shit. People suck. The video game industry is coming apart at the seams. It's like, what's left? Movies are good. People give Hollywood shit, and it's barely even Hollywood anymore. It's, international filmmaking. It's independent filmmaking. It's all good. I mean, the streaming part sucks ass, and people need to go to the movie theaters more and appreciate movie theaters a little bit more. But aside from that, movies are pretty good. I mean, 2025's got a pretty good lineup rolling up with some stuff like Superman and Fantastic Four. Speaking of movie theater experiences, I'm sure I've talked about this before and it won't be the last time, but like, what is wrong with people? If you're that person that goes into a movie theater and the previews are going, or even the movie's playing, and like you pull out your phone, what is wrong with you? Put the phone down. I understand every single person in that room paid to be in there, so they think that they're like obligated to a certain experience or luxury or whatever. No, you're not just paying to go. You're renting a spot that's like barely even, a foot by foot space. It's you're renting this little spot in a room that has no walls. That's it. That's all you get. So you're not the only person in there. There's that giant auditorium and a screen in front of you. You're renting that spot for 2+ hours or whatever. Just sit your ass down. Open your snacks before the fucking movie starts. Breathe through your freaking nose when you're eating. If you have eating issues, that's one thing. Sorry, you probably shouldn't even be eating at the movie theaters if you know you have this issue. But it's like, just watch the movie. If you don't have the ability to do that, then watch it at home. I would advocate going to the movie theaters. Please go to the movie theaters. Enjoy the movie theaters. That's the whole experience. That's what keeps movies being made at such a high production value, and that's what gets them on the map, whether it's big budget or indie. It's up to us to keep movies going. But you have to just sit your ass down for 2 hours without your phone and without talking out loud. It's fine if you want to laugh to a funny moment or scream to a scary moment with everyone else. But if it's inappropriate, or if it's loud, or if it's not timed right, or just plain out unnecessary, don't do it. You're an adult, I hope. Act like one. Like, I want nothing more in this world to be a part of the movie industry, but it would just suck to think that it's like you put someone, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people put their, blood, sweat, and tears into a movie, and you can't pay attention for 2 goddamn hours. It's like you go into a library and you know to be quiet. You know not to talk too loud. You go to an art gallery and you know to like Just look, observe, and don't touch the painting, you know? It's stuff like that. It's like, why can't the movie experience be the same way? You don't walk into a museum and start taking selfies with, you know, the statue and like touching the butt of David or whatever, you know? Or you just don't. You don't. I mean, there are people who are vandalizing art, but like, you don't. I don't know. It's etiquette. What's wrong? Where did movie theater etiquette go? Tell me, please. If someone knows, if someone has an answer, I would love to know. This shit needs to stop right now. Anyway, I don't know what I'm rambling about at this point. Also, okay. I don't know why this just came to mind, but I kind of want to go back to another ramble that I had that I vaguely touched upon in the last episode about like fake news and stuff like that. And it kind of coincides with like the spoiler video that I made. It's just kind of like all around that fake news community that's on social media. Where like they just, whether it's fake or it's something that's made out of practically nothing. I've been seeing these headlines, mainly DC related, because, you know, I follow DC. But I've been seeing these headlines like, oh, James Gunn says that the Batman or Robert Pattinson's Batman is not part of the DCU. And that was posted like 2 days ago. Yeah, he said that like 2 years ago, or whenever he posted that initial like DCU announcement video, way back before they started everything, and he was announcing that he was directing Superman. He said it then. That was like a year and a half ago. Like, what is going on? You people aren't paying attention. You're just waiting until, I don't know what you're waiting for. He said that already. He said that and the Joker and probably other projects in the near future will be part of what's called the Elseworld projects. And they're just stuff that are on their own and they're not related to what's happening in the DCU. He said that. What do you mean, like, oh, Robert Pattinson's not part of the DCU? We know that already. Or like I saw a different one that was David Cornsweet isn't sure. Like the headline said something like, David Cornsweet isn't sure if he'll return after Superman's release in July. And then what it was referring to was David Cornsweet said, when asked about like how he feels about being Superman, you know, for the subsequent years, he responded, well, I guess that's up to the fans on if I'm able to come back or not, or something like that. He said, it's not up to me, is it? But he's not saying that like he's not sure if he wants to come back. He's just saying that like based on how this stupid ass industry goes and how people treat movies these days, he doesn't know based on fan reactions or producers or whatever it is, if he'll even be allowed to come back for another Superman movie because of how people react and treat movies on social media these days. It's like, duh. So it's like, why build a headline that's not built out of any, you know, that's not even what he said. The headline makes it seem like he's saying he doesn't want to come back, which I guess that's the point of the headline. It's to make you click and it's to make you engage with it and whatnot. But it's like, stop doing that. Find something interesting or truthful. And like maybe something someone really didn't know or wouldn't have known otherwise. But it's like, these are things we know. We know Batman or Robert Pattinson wasn't going to be in the DCU. We know like, it's up to us whether or not David Cornsweet gets to be Superman going forward, because it's like, that's just common sense. I need to cool down. I need to cool down. This stuff just pisses me off. I'm really not angry. I'm just, I don't know. I guess I'm just passionate about this stuff. It's like people are stupid. And if you've been listening to the last 52 minutes that I've been talking, you probably agree with me that people are stupid. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, I'm not gonna keep going on for too much longer. If you're still here, I greatly appreciate it. Brandon greatly appreciates it. I mean, this isn't my channel, but I'm sure acting like it is. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, whether you're just driving and needed something to play, or you genuinely wanted to listen to some nerd ramble about some stupid stuff that's going on in the world right now. The world. I'm talking about like I'm breaking boundaries and I'm like a diehard journalist. I'm talking about nerdy shit over here, okay? But regardless, I appreciate it. And I love you. And I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a wonderful shift at work. I hope you get that raise. I hope that book that you're contemplating on buying right now, I hope you buy it, because books are good and you need to read. If you've been thinking about painting miniatures, paint a miniature. Save your money. Don't buy the expensive crap that doesn't work. Just save your money. Figure out what you need. Go watch Squidmar. They'll tell you what you need. And paint a miniature. Why not? Have some fun. Go to the movie theaters. Go watch Anora. It just won best film of the year. Yeah, do it. Whatever it is you're doing, do it, and do it good. Yeah, you do that. But anyways, this was Aaron by himself rambling for an hour at this point. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. A like would be appreciated. If you have any opinions, or if you are, if you have something nice to say in the comments, that's always fun. Did I spark any interest in conversation? Let me know in the comments. This will also be on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, a review and rating or a comment goes a long way. If you happen to know of any other nerds or geeks or freaks out there that just need something to do or listen to, send them our way, and we will annoy them just as much as we annoyed you today. So yeah, all that stuff, it's free. There's, you don't have to pay a single dime, but it helps us a ton. Oh, and we also have an email. You could probably find it on our account. If you just go on the YouTube page, I'm pretty sure there's like a little email thing. But we have an email, innerdpodcast@gmail.com. It's that simple. It's all lowercase. It's all one word. Have any questions? If you have any interesting video topics or anything like that you want to send our way, let us know and do that. We will probably bring it up. We don't have like a Patreon or anything like that at the moment. So aside from the comments, if you want to reach out to us directly and, get involved with our show before it becomes bigger and we do have to open up a Patreon and whatnot, now's the time to do it. Go over to that email. Go over to the comments. Send a review, send a like, and subscribe to the Ender Podcast. I have been your host, Aaron, and I will see you later. Peace.